I'll start mine, and then Holly will do hers. So first, you'll look at the rate, and you can do that by counting the number of large boxes between the R to R interval. In this particular rhythm strip, it equals about a little less than 75, so I'd probably say 68 to 70. And then next, we'll look at rhythm, and you can do that by looking at the R to R interval and seeing if it's regular. You can measure the distance between the R to R, and it looks pretty regular in this particular EKG. Next, we'll look at axis. You look at lead 1 and lead AVF, and the R wave is upright in lead 1 and it is upright in AVF. So therefore, there is no evidence of left axis deviation or right axis deviation. Next, we'll look at left ventricular hypertrophy. You can do this by looking at the S wave in V1 and the R wave in V5, and it should be less than 35 millimeters or less than 7 large boxes, which it is, so there is no evidence of left ventricular hypertrophy. Then we'll move on and we'll look at ST changes for evidence of ischemia or infarct. And I like to start with the inferior leads, so 2, 3, and AVF. Lead 2, there's no ST depression. In lead 3 and in lead AVF, there is significant ST depression. Next, we'll look at the precordial leads. So there is ST elevation in all precordial leads, V1 through V6. Then I'll look at the lateral leads, 1 and AVL, and there is ST elevation in leads 1 and AVL. So based off of these findings, I would say that there's probably evidence of infarct in the anterior septal and lateral leads with reciprocal changes in the inferior leads. I would recommend cardiac enzymes, and the patient will probably be taking a trip to the cath lab. And that is my interpretation. Holly, it's your turn.
Hi. Let me switch my, okay, here's my EKG. I'm going to do the same and evaluate the rate based on the 300, 150, 100, 75, 60, 50 method. And I'm going to say it's about, the rate is 20, ventricular rate is about 20. And I'm using the cycles per 6-second strip and multiplying by 10. And I'm taking these two and multiplying by 10 to get my 20. And I've got some AV dissociation. So the atrial rate varies. I'd say it's irregular, less than 50. Next, I go to the rhythm. It looks very irregular. There's more P waves than QRSs. I'd go to the axis. And in lead 1, the QRS is upright. And in AVF, the QRS is down. So I'd say we have a left axis deviation. Go on to hypertrophy. I'm going to look at the S wave in V1. And I'm going to look at the R wave in V5. And in the S wave in V1, they're about 1.5 boxes. And in the R wave for V5, there's about 4.5 boxes. So it's less than 35 millimeters or less than 7 boxes. So I'd say we have no left ventricular hypertrophy. I'm going to move on for infarction. I'm going to look at the Q waves. I don't really see any Q waves of note. Inverted T waves, I notice in V1, V2, and V3. And I have some ST depression in V1, V2, and V3. And based on this EKG, I'd have to say it's 3rd degree complete AV block with ventricular focus, rate of 20, with an irregular rate because there's AV dissociation, left axis deviation, and possible ischemic changes. And I would recommend possibly getting a pacemaker. Thank you.
Awesome, thanks.